everybody, it's Liz, and I am back again with another spooky video. And there's a man walking his dog on the sidewalk. And it's a huge dog. It's a huge dog. These are tiny apartments for a huge dog. Anyway, so I am filming another spooky paranormal video today. And I thought, in the spirit of paranormal things, I would put on some red lipstick and put my hair in Wednesday Adam braids or Pocahontas braids, whichever you prefer, but this is a spooky video, remember? And I'm going to do the scariest things tag. And this has been circulating around on YouTube for a while, and I know Beauty Creep did this like years ago, but I'm just now getting around to watching her videos. So I thought I would do this today. It's gloomy and rainy and gross out, and the lighting is bad, but I think it kind of gives it an eerie vibe. I don't know. So I am just going to get into the questions. There are 7 questions in this tag, and yeah. So the first question is, scariest real-life experience. So my scariest real-life experience, non-paranormal experience, would have to be getting in a car accident. I've only been in one car accident in my entire life, and I was 20 at the time, so like 6 years ago or so, and I had a really awesome old school Jeep Grand Cherokee, which I loved. It was my favorite car I think I've ever owned, and I actually ran it off the road, flipped it about 6 times down an embankment, and ended up landing upside down on railroad tracks. And at the time, the tracks were vibrating, so I thought a train was coming. And obviously I survived the crash with minor injuries, just a concussion and some scrapes and bruises and a little bit of whiplash. But I can just remember I was hanging upside down in the Jeep by my seatbelt, and I just knew that I had survived this crash going, and I was going really fast. I was going like 65 miles an hour at the time that I flipped, and I just remember I survived this crash, and now I'm going to get hit by a train. Like, that was the scariest experience of my life, was just thinking that I was potentially going to get hit by a train after surviving a massive car accident. So that was probably my scariest real-life experience, and if you want a video on that at all, like a storytime video, just let me know. Number 2, scariest paranormal experience. My scariest paranormal experience, I already made a video on about the demon slash ghost slash, I don't know, whatever it was that was in the spare bedroom in my apartment in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. So if you haven't watched that, I will link it below, but just go and check it out. It's the first video on my channel. That was the scariest experience in my life, and I actually remembered part of the story that I forgot just the other day, and this is just a little side bit, but if you haven't watched that video, go watch that and then come back here. But at one point, one night, I remember being woken up from a dead sleep by hearing someone scream loudly in my ear, just like they were standing right beside me, and they screamed loudly in my ear while I was sleeping. And that was just another little extra bit of information to go along with that video that I had kind of forgotten about, and I was chatting with my sister about it the other day, and I remembered that bit of information, and I forgot to put that in the video. So there's a little extra something for you about my scariest paranormal experience. Number 3, have you ever known anyone convicted of a violent crime? Yes, I have, unfortunately. This is kind of an emotional and touchy subject, but around, I would say 16 years ago or so, one of my cousins that I was very close with was actually stabbed to death and murdered by her husband, and he was convicted of that murder, and he is currently serving a pretty hefty sentence in jail for that. That's the only person I know of who's ever been convicted of a violent crime that I know personally. But yeah, that's not really something I want to talk about, but that's just a little bit of information for you. Number 4, are you afraid of the dark? Why and why not? Yes and no. So this is kind of unusual because I cannot sleep if there's any kind of light in the room. I have to have it completely dark to sleep, but I'm also terrified at the same time. So I hate being alone in the dark. I hate walking alone in the dark. I see things a lot, shadows, just your typical things that you see while being alone in the dark. So I can't sleep unless it's pitch black, but at the same time I absolutely hate it because I'm terrified, and I'm the kind of person who leaves a trail of lights as I go through my apartment. So if I get up to get a drink of water, I turn every light on in my path, and then I turn them all off simultaneously, as I go back to the bed. And if I don't have a light between my bed and the nearest light, I will use my flashlight on my phone to light my way because I can't stay in the dark. I don't like to be awake and alone in the dark, so if the electricity goes off, I get scared. If I'm outside in the dark, I typically get scared. I just don't like being alone in the dark unless I'm asleep. Number 5, does your hometown have any scary stories or legends? Yeah, so I grew up in a really small town in Kentucky, Williamsburg. I don't know if you probably have never heard of it, unless you're from there, and you're watching this video, in which case, hi, I probably know you. But there are some urban legends about my town. So there's a couple. There's a stretch of road on Highway 25 or the Cumberland Falls Highway. It goes by 2 different names. And it's rumored that somebody went over an embankment there, and on certain nights you can see them sitting on the guardrail. You can see the person who died in that crash sitting on the guardrail. Bigfoot is also a pretty popular urban legend or myth from that area. The area is surrounded by woods. It's the Daniel Boone National Forest, and it's a mountainous area in the middle of the Appalachian Mountains. So a lot of people claim that Bigfoot is there. Personally, I think if Bigfoot is real, that's probably where he is. And then there is a pretty odd urban legend, kind of, that's just exclusive to the area, and it's called the Mulberry Black Thing. And a lot of different people have a lot of different opinions on what the Mulberry Black Thing is. I was always under the impression, and I always heard that it was a black panther that roamed the area that fed on chickens and cows and goats and things like that. Other people say it's like a supernatural creature, kind of a werewolf type thing, but basically it's supposed to be this huge black cat-ish monster that roams the woods at night, and if you come up on it, it's supposed to, attack you, or people have told stories of it eating their livestock. There's also been stories of people riding horses through the area and it attacking the horses at night. So that's just kind of like a local legend that a lot of people know about. Personally, it's probably a black panther or a mountain lion of some sort, because there are mountain lions in that area. I don't think it's anything supernatural, but a lot of people do, so that's kind of one of the local legends of that area. Number 6, what is your favorite urban legend? So I have 2 favorite urban legends. My first favorite urban legend is the guy with the hook hand who sneaks up on the couple who's parked in the car making out, and the husband or the boyfriend gets out of the car, and then he ends up being murdered and hung from a tree, and then as the wife finally gets out of the car in the morning because she's so afraid, there's a hook hand on the door, blah, blah, blah. I like that one just because I think it's funny, because I know that urban legend was started in the 50s to discourage teenagers from parking in cars with boys, and I just think that's hilarious. And then my second favorite, probably my top favorite urban legend, is of the person or the girl who's driving down the road, and the guy's behind her flashing his lights because there's a serial killer or a murderer in the backseat of the car, or there's someone in the backseat of the car who's going to murder her if they stop at a red light or what when they get home or whatever. That's probably my favorite urban legend, and I actually have a reason behind that, so When I drove my Jeep, my favorite car that I've ever had, I was going down a road. It's a backcountry road, very curvy, toward my house at about midnight after a high school football game. So I was in high school. I think I was a senior at the time. I don't think I ever went to football games until my senior year because I was like one of those loser kids who didn't think they liked football, but then I realized I did. So I didn't go into my senior year. But anyway, I was driving down the road, and at one point I glanced out my window, and I don't know if it was a ghost or mist or an actual person or what, but I just see what looks like a person floating along the side of the road, okay? So at that point, that urban legend immediately came into my mind, and I'm like, oh my gosh, if I look in my rearview mirror right now, this ghostly person is going to be in the backseat of my car. So that one's just one of my favorite because I always think about that crazy night that I saw that person on the side of the road, and I always think about how I was so terrified to look in the rearview mirror because I was afraid they would be there. So yeah, that's my favorite urban legend. And the last question, number 7, is what is your scariest nightmare? So I actually have 2 reoccurring nightmares that happen to me often. The first nightmare has been happening to me since I was young, so very young. I would say as long as I can remember dreaming, I remember this urban legend. So I remember in the dream, I'm always in the middle of the ocean, and I'm blind, and I can't see which way is shore and which way is farther out in the ocean, and I'm just swimming and swimming and swimming and swimming, and I think I'm going in the right direction, but I'm really getting pulled farther and farther out to sea, and I'm blind, and it's terrifying. It's like being helpless, and that's probably the scariest dream I have ever had, and I continue to have. Whenever I get stressed, I usually have that dream at least twice a week while I'm stressed. I think it probably has something to feel like I'm drowning in life or something, and I know there's probably a deeper meaning, and if you are someone who likes to analyze dreams, please tell me what that means because I would love to know. And then probably my scariest paranormal dream is I dream about zombies all the time. Like, ever since I started watching The Walking Dead, and I've been watching it for years, since it first came on, I have dreamed about zombies all the time. Like, I'm either killing them, or I am one, or I'm being eaten by one, or I'm being chased by one. Like, I dream about zombies all the time. Sometimes they're not scary. Sometimes I'm like Rick Grimes, and I'm just like slaying them nonstop. But most of the time, I'm terrified in my dream, and I usually wake up afraid that there's going to be a zombie in my bedroom. So, yeah, that's probably the scariest dream, paranormal type dream that I have. And I know it's paranormal, and I know it's not going to happen, so that's why, even though it's a recurring nightmare, it's not terrifying to me, but the idea of being blind in the ocean can actually happen, and that is terrifying to me. So that is the scariest things tag. There were 7 questions. I'll list them in the description box below, along with my Twitter and my Instagram links, so if you're not following me, follow me there, because sometimes I get on there and I post things. Sometimes I don't. It just depends on what kind of mood I'm in. But if you like this video and you want to see more from me, just subscribe and give me a thumbs up to let me know that you enjoyed it. And I will be back later with another video. And the guy that just walked by the window stared at me for a very long time. I'm not crazy, I promise. Anyway, I'll talk to you later. Bye.